Welcome! Today we're going to look at some best practices in instructional design. These are the strategies that help us build learning that's not only effective, but also engaging, inclusive, and meaningful. Instructional design is basically the process of making learning experiences that actually work. Think of us as the bridge between content and learners. Our job is to take raw information and turn it into something people can understand, apply, and remember. Good design means the knowledge doesn't just get delivered, it sticks. The first step is always the learner. We need to ask, who are they? What do they know already? What barriers might they face? That's why we do a needs analysis. Then we line up everything with clear learning objectives, and we make sure our materials are accessible and culturally responsive, so all learners feel included. There are different models we can use to guide our design. ADDIE is the classic step-by-step process. Analyze, design, develop, implement, evaluate. SAM is more flexible. It's all about rapid prototyping and iterating quickly. And UDL, Universal Design for Learning, reminds us to plan for accessibility from the very start by offering multiple ways for learners to engage, understand, and show what they've learned. This is ADDIE, one of the most widely used models in instructional design. Think of it as a structured, step-by-step process. First is analysis, where we figure out who the learners are, what they need, and what the goals are. Then comes design, where we map out objectives, activities, and the tools we'll use. After that is development, when we actually create the materials, like slides, videos, or practice activities. Next is implementation, when we roll it out, whether that's in a classroom, online, or both. And finally, evaluation, where we measure if it worked, both during the process and at the end. The key takeaway is that ADDIE provides structure and accountability, so nothing important gets overlooked. SAM is like ADDIE's more flexible cousin. Instead of following strict steps, SAM focuses on speed and iteration. It starts with preparation, where you gather content and set goals. Then you move into iterative design. You brainstorm, create a quick prototype, get feedback, and adjust. Finally, there's iterative development, where you keep building, testing, and refining in short cycles. Imagine sketching a draft, showing it to someone, improving it, and repeating until it's polished. This avoids long delays and helps make sure the design actually meets learner needs as it develops. The best practice here is agility. Adapt as you go. UDL is all about inclusion. Instead of designing for the average learner, we design so everyone can access and benefit. It rests on 3 pillars: representation, presenting information in multiple ways, like text, audio, or visuals; engagement, motivating learners by giving them choices and connecting content to their interests; and expression, letting learners show what they know in different ways, like writing, speaking, or creating. The core goal is to make learning environments accessible and inclusive from the very beginning, not as an afterthought. UDL ensures equity by recognizing that learners have different strengths and needs. Behind everything we do are principles from learning science. Cognitive load theory tells us our brains can only handle so much at once, so we need to keep materials clear and simple. Mayer's multimedia principles show how combining visuals and text, with clear signaling, helps learners understand better. And constructivism reminds us that learners build knowledge actively, through problem-solving, reflection, and collaboration. This is cognitive load theory, and it's all about how our brains process information. Think of your working memory as a small backpack. It can only hold so much at one time. If we overload it, learners drop things along the way. That's why we try to cut out unnecessary distractions. That's called reducing extraneous load. We also manage the natural complexity of the material, which is intrinsic load, so learners don't feel overwhelmed. And finally, we encourage learners to put their mental effort toward the important stuff, like problem solving or practice. That's called germane load. The goal is to keep learning materials clear, simple, and focused so learners can succeed. Mayer's principles are about how people learn better with both words and visuals. For example, if you explain something and show a picture at the same time, the brain processes that information in two channels, visual and verbal. That's called dual coding. We also use signaling, like arrows, highlights, or bold text, to show learners what's important. One mistake people often make is redundancy, reading slides word for word. That actually hurts learning. And finally, breaking content into smaller, digestible chunks helps learners process it without feeling overloaded. Basically, well-designed multimedia makes information stick. Constructivism says that people don't just passively absorb information, they build their own understanding by connecting new ideas to what they already know. This happens through experience, reflection, problem solving, and collaboration with others. Think of it like putting puzzle pieces together. Each new piece makes sense because it connects to the bigger picture. As instructional designers, our role is to create those opportunities for discovery instead of just dumping information. We want learners to be active participants in making meaning, not just receivers of facts. Learning works best when learners are active, not passive. That's where engagement comes in. We can use branching scenarios, games, or simple quizzes to get learners involved. The key is giving them chances to interact with the material and check their understanding along the way. Think of it like practice before the real game. Accessibility is not optional, it's essential. Following WCAG guidelines means adding captions, alt text, and ensuring good color contrast. We also need to use plain, clear language and give learners content in multiple formats. The goal is to design for everyone, whether they have visual, hearing, mobility, or learning differences, so no one is left out. Instructional design is never one and done. We test early with prototypes and small pilots. We listen to feedback, look at the data, and then refine. The idea is continuous improvement. Each cycle makes the learning experience better and better. Decisions shouldn't be based on gut feeling. We look at learning analytics, things like completion rates, quiz scores, or time on task. We also gather reflections and surveys from learners. Then, we connect that data back to our objectives. Did learners really gain the skills we intended? If not, we adjust. Instructional design is a team effort. We work with subject matter experts, educators, tech staff, and of course, learners themselves. Tools like Trello or Asana help us stay organized, but the most important part is clear, open communication. Collaboration ensures we create stronger, more accurate, and more engaging learning. This field changes fast. New tools like AI, adaptive learning, and AR/VR are reshaping how people learn. To stay relevant, we need to keep learning ourselves by joining professional networks like ATD, AECT, or the Learning Guild, and staying connected with communities of practice. Growth here means being both curious and adaptable. At the end of the day, tools and models matter, but mindset matters more. A good instructional designer is learner-centered, reflective, and adaptable. We document not only the final product, but the process we went through. That mindset helps us grow and make every new project better than the last. So, to wrap up, instructional design isn't just about delivering content. It's about designing learning that truly makes an impact. Thank you for listening, and I'd love to hear any questions or thoughts you have.